know what, that you have first period of
Okay. And if you have G's, that's why. Well, that's not confusing. Yeah, sorry.
Right, hey, it's great, it's gonna be wonderful.
That, lesson plan you gave me
Mhm.
for the revolution,
Mhm.
the date is September 23rd, is that when that's,
No, that's just what it was last year.
Okay.
I just sent you one from last year.
okay.
Yeah, because pacing wise, I think you starting teaching gave me, I would typically change it. Because I'm not good at using, like sometimes use what's in the teacher's notes. So like if it says, I can't even think of a good example. You call it colonization, but the early period of Georgia is called the trustee period.
Yeah.
Call it the trustee period.
Okay.
And then when we switch, we're still just a colony. So like what I'm saying is like use those keywords over and over again so they keep that in their head, because that's, I've got an anchor chart I could give you that would show you what the words, I tell you, that's what I'll do. Let me print off the milestone, like vocabulary guide,
Okay.
and if you know those, very straightforward. I know.
Very.
See, that's my other area too, science. And she's gonna like, set a dollar bill on fire and stuff, and do like, yeah. So I want you to go see what she does. To maybe get you a little bit excited about this flexibility, you know, this ease of access.
That's one good thing about this.
New student teacher?
Yes.
Welcome.
This is John Ford.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Alyssa Holmberg,
Fantastic. Where do you go to college?
UNG, Alyssa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, don't feel bad. I'm a North Hall graduate. I felt the same thing.
Hall, West Hall.
Oh.
But I went to, you went to Tavern? This first.
You got paired up with a great one right here.
I don't, don't put that.
No, a deep and abiding content knowledge, very skilled with technology.
Thank you.
Just, yeah, I mean, you got a good one, so.
Hey,
for
Praline cheesecake.
Wow,
I don't know how good it is, so.
that's gonna be
Hopefully
fantastic.
it's good.
I just went over region and hemisphere and prime meridian and
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. I gotta find it. Paul, is your game working okay? These work pretty well. This is the school, say, it's a bit bad, it's an old idea, that's what I do. That's nice. Okay. Let's start it. Hello. I can see some of you, I can't hear anything. Actually, I think. Yeah. Go ahead a little bit more. sentences, and it can be one paragraph that answers both questions. I don't need a paragraph per question. It's really, I want a paragraph that answers both of those questions. Is it?
Anything Friday?
Yeah, we'll make it, but actually, I think I've got it set up where it's due at the end of, tonight at almost midnight.
Okay.
But I'll change it, I'll push it towards to Friday, but make sure you're doing it as a paragraph. I've got a couple of them where they answer the first question in a sentence, and then the next question they answer in like 3 sentences, but there's no indentation. It's, you guys are to the point where you need to write things. If I say paragraph, it's a paragraph, because you ever since at least 6th grade, you know how to write paragraphs, right? That's the key point I'm trying to get. I want you to read it, I want you to analyze it, but I also need you to write. That's one of the things you're supposed to do. Any other questions before we start? No? All right. One more person. Make sure if you just come in, you need to put the word here, H-E-R-E, in the chat. All right, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to watch The Simpsons. Thank you. I'm going to share my computer sound. This is a lesson mainly about sources. Does anybody know how many types of sources? Well, there's 2 types of sources. Does anybody know the name of those types of sources? Probably not. Primary and secondary. Yeah, thank you. In this case, we're going to look at 2 primary sources and try to put together like stuff that happens in news stories doesn't typically happen to the person who wrote it. A primary source, a primary source is discussing something that either personally happened to them or they were a witness to. So, like a story about a crime, if it's in the newspaper, it's a secondary source, because unless it happened to you, which would be odd that you would write about it anyway, it's a secondary source in this case. So, anybody watch The Simpsons? You know who Bart Simpson is? You're aware of this program that's been on for 30 years. Most of you, maybe a meme or something you've seen. Okay. So this is a case of DOA. Does anybody know what DOA means in real life? Anybody? The DOA. Nope. Usually means dead on arrival. In this case, it is driven over adolescent. So Bart's going to get hit by a car, and we're going to see what happens. And that's, like I said, primary and secondary sources is what we're really looking at. What we're looking at is primary evidence because it happened to that person. The problem is primary sources, and actually any source, primary or secondary, can have what's called bias. So you may want to try to define bias for me. You can do it in the chat if you want to. What's a bias? You don't know. You all have bias. You all have a bias about stuff right now, I guarantee you. There are things that you have biases about. Discrimination, that's a good way to define bias. Discrimination, yeah. I would see bias more as like it's selfish. And then we'll talk a little bit about it, then I'm going to play it again. So here's Bart. But make sure you can hear it. Yeah, you should be able to hear it. Here we go. Here's Bart's side of the story.
Now, Bart, I want to tell the jury in your own words exactly what happened on the day of the accident.
Yes, sir. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I was playing in my Mr. Childlike way, little realizing that I was about to be swept out by the luxury car of death.
The vessel traveled 3 o'clock.
Luckily, I was not killed that day. Over sometime.
Mr. Burns. Okay? So we'll watch it one more time, and I need you to think about that part of it. Like what's actually going on. Here we go. Second time.
Now, Bart, I want you to tell the jury in your own words exactly what happened on the day of the accident.
Yes, sir. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I was playing in my Mr. Childlike way. Luckily, I was
Wholesome, childlike way. Bart is not usually seen as this wholesome child. He's kind of like, he's
A brat.
a brat. Yeah. And he's not the most reliable source. But how did he describe Mr. Burns' car?
Luxury car of death.
Yes, the luxury car of death. That sounds nice and whole. It looked like a demon car to me. Yeah, car of death. It looked like. Do you think Bart's telling the truth? Not at all? You think he made it all up?
Well, I think he's just over-exaggerating.
Okay, some of it might be right, some of it's exaggeration. Yeah. All right, so there are two sources of this, and we need to hear from the next source. But hopefully Bart's telling the truth. But we need to hear from Mr. Burns, the other side of this. So we're going to do the same thing with Mr. Burns. Okay. Is that probably what happened? Why not? Why can't you believe Mr. Burns is an adult? You can believe all adults, can't you? They never tell you, they never lie. It's like that he would, release his hounds on you if you came to try to knock on his door. That's probably what makes him a bad guy. So let's talk about what he said. What was he doing that day as he was driving? Where was he going? He's going to the orphanage to pass out toys. That's what you guys do on your Sunday afternoons, right? You just drive around in your Barbie bug like him, and you go and you pass out toys at orphanages, and random little kids on skateboards come out and mow you down with their skateboard, right? I mean, he was literally driving on the wrong side of the road, because there's three sides to every story. There's your side, my side, and the truth. So let's listen to Mr. Burns again and think about the similarities between him and Bart, because the similarities are hopefully going to be our facts.
Now, Mr. Burns, would you please relate in your own words exactly what really happened on the day of the accident? Certainly. Oh my goodness, look what's happened. Oh, it's not a service driver. Wait, you despicable blue-blooded monsters. Regardless of what you think, we must summon help and comfort the dear boy until an ambulance arrives. No! Take me! I am alone! That's what happened.
Okay. So Mr. Burns told his side. What did he do right before he told his story? Anybody notice that?
Pulled out a paper.
Why would he pull out a piece of paper? What do you think?
Somebody wrote it for him.
Somebody wrote it for him. So when you guys are getting asked a question by your parents, if you were to pull out a piece of paper and just repeat what was on the paper, like what was Bart doing? And both of them said that Mr. Burns was doing what? Driving. He was driving a car, and we know that he got hit. Although I will say this, in Bart's, we never see Bart actually get hit in his testimony, but we know he got hit because he's got all those bandages and stuff on. So we know that Bart was on a skateboard, Mr. Burns was in his car of death, or maybe just his Barbie car, and that it was a Sunday, and then an accident happened. Can we tell who's at fault with all this evidence? Because you're like a jury at this point. Could you tell who's really at fault? No? Probably not. Do you have an idea of what happened at the rest of this? Keep going. Good old Mr. Burns.
Excuse the interruption. I need Mr. Cash to the cafeteria at this time. Cash Browner to the cafeteria at this time.
Sorry, I'm gonna pause when the speaker, the intercom comes on, like I would normally in class. So